There is a moment, often quiet, often unexpected, when you simply stop. You stop trying to impress. You stop trying to be liked. You stop trying to hold it all together, not because you're defeated, but because something inside you whispers, "I'm tired of pretending." And in that silence, something strange happens. You don't feel free. You feel empty. You thought letting go of the expectations would bring peace. Instead, it brings confusion, disorientation, a low, aching kind of loss. You look at your life and realize you've been performing for so long, you don't actually know who you are without the role. This is the inner pause, the space between the life you were performing and the self you have yet to meet. It's not a crisis. It's not a breakdown. It's an invitation to stop performing and start becoming. Part 1. The mask you didn't know you were wearing. To understand the pause, you first need to understand the performance. Carl Jung called it the persona, the mask we wear to function in society. It's not fake. It's not evil. It's necessary. We all have personas. You have one at work. You have one with your family. You have one online. You even have one with yourself, the version you think you're supposed to be. The persona is how we survive in a world that demands coherence, clarity, and comfort. It's the smile when you're breaking inside. It's the nod when you disagree. It's the "I'm fine" when you haven't been in weeks. It's you but edited. It's truth but rehearsed. The problem isn't the existence of the persona. The problem is when you forget that it's just a mask, and worse, when you start to believe it's who you really are. How does that happen? Slowly. As children, we learn quickly. The world reacts more positively to some parts of us than others. Some emotions are good, some questions are too much, some expressions are inappropriate. So we start curating. We adapt. We build a version of ourselves that fits the room. And over time, we become that version. Not because it's true, but because it's safe. You become the high achiever, the good girl, the resilient one, the fixer, the strong friend, the one who always keeps it together. You get rewards for it, attention, approval, advancement. And so you double down, until one day you realize the life you're living is applauding a character you're no longer willing to play. You feel unseen, not because people don't love you, but because they've only ever loved the version you showed them. And here's the hard truth. You taught them to love that version. You performed it so well, even you believed it. But the body remembers. The soul remembers. And one day, the mask gets heavy. Jung said, "The persona is what one is not, but what oneself and others think one is." It's a compromise. It's necessary up to a point. But when you live from persona for too long, you become emotionally exiled from your own truth. Your desires get blurry. Your opinions get quiet. Your inner voice sounds distant, like someone calling you from another room. And when you finally pause, when you finally stop performing, the silence is deafening. Because without the role, you don't know where the real you begins. But this confusion is sacred. It's not failure. It's awakening. In the next part, we'll explore what happens when the persona starts to crack and what lies beneath the mask you've worn for so long. Because under every persona is a shadow, and under every shadow is the self that's been waiting to return. Part 2. The cost of the role. When every win feels like a lie. You played the role well. You showed up. You delivered. You smiled when needed. You succeeded on cue. And people noticed. They admired your confidence. They envied your discipline. They called you inspiring, strong, unstoppable. But behind the compliments, something didn't feel right. Because every time you reached a new milestone, you felt more disconnected from the one who earned it. The applause got louder, but the meaning got quieter. You sat with the trophies, the praise, the recognition, and you wondered why they felt so far away, as if they belonged to someone else. Because in a way they did. They belonged to the mask. This is the hidden cost of persona you win, but it's the role that gets the credit. You're seen, but not for who you truly are. You're loved, but for how well you play the part. And over time, something painful begins to happen. You become successful and invisible, because people can only love the parts of you they can see, and the persona, by definition, hides what's real. So even in moments of triumph, you feel alone. Even in rooms full of admiration, you feel unseen. Not because others are cruel, but because you taught them to love the mask and not the human behind it. Jung understood this all too well. He believed that persona is essential for society to function. We need roles. We need structure. We need shared expectations. But when the persona becomes fused with the self, when the performance replaces the person, we lose the connection to our soul, and we start asking questions that haunt the ambitious. Why don't I feel anything anymore? Why does everything feel muted? Why am I so tired, even when I've done nothing wrong? Why do I keep achieving and still feel like a fraud? Because somewhere along the way, your success stopped reflecting who you are and started compensating for who you're afraid to be. This is where the shadow comes in. The shadow is not evil. It's not dangerous. It's simply what the persona refuses to include. If the persona is your social self, then the shadow is everything you've exiled to keep that image clean. Your sadness, your rage, your desires, your doubts, your unmet needs, your longing to break free. The more polished the persona, the more potent the shadow. And the moment you pause, the moment you stop performing, the shadow shows up. At first, it's unsettling. It brings up feelings you've suppressed for years. It reminds you of everything you've denied to stay liked, respected, acceptable. But that discomfort is not a threat. It's an invitation. Because underneath that, shadow beneath the parts you've abandoned, is the self. Not the idealized self. Not the edited version, but the real, rooted, complex human being you were always meant to be. So what now? What do you do when the life you've built feels out of sync with your soul? First, you stop running. You stop over-explaining. You stop managing everyone's perception of you. You let the silence speak. You let the grief come. You let yourself feel what you've numbed for years. Second, you honor the fracture. The discomfort you feel is proof you're waking up. Proof that your nervous system is no longer willing to play a part that doesn't belong to you. Proof that your inner world is done being a backdrop to your outer performance. And third, you begin to listen differently, not for what sounds impressive, but for what feels alive. The body never lies. The soul never yells, but both are always speaking. The question is, will you slow down long enough to hear them? In the next part, we'll explore what happens when the persona finally collapses and how to survive the terrifying, liberating emptiness that follows. Because while the mask helped you survive, its removal is what will let you live. Part 3. When the persona collapses. The emptiness and the fear of who you really are. You let go. You stopped pretending. You stopped overachieving. You stopped proving. You stopped performing. And for a brief moment, it felt like freedom. But then silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that echoes. a sudden disorienting quiet where the noise used to be. No expectations, no role to play, no image to maintain. Just you. And the question that hangs heavy in the stillness: who am I without the mask? This is the part of the journey no one talks about. The aftermath, the emptiness, the grief. Not because you've failed, but because the structure that held you together for so long has disintegrated. You don't know what to say anymore. You don't know what to chase. You're not sure what's real. You're not sure what's yours. Everything you used to believe about yourself, the confident one, the achiever, the fixer, the strong one, suddenly feels like a costume you can no longer wear. But without it, you feel naked. This is not regression. This is initiation. Carl Jung called it the night sea journey, a period of psychological and spiritual darkness that often precedes deep transformation. It's the space where the ego has lost control and the self has not yet emerged. It's terrifying. Grief for the years you spent performing. Grief for the parts of you silenced. Grief for the relationships built on who you weren't. Grief for the effort it took to hold it all together. This is the shadow work Jung spoke of. It's not dramatic. It's quiet, subtle, inward. It's sitting on your bed and not knowing what to do next. It's feeling numb after a major success. It's crying for no reason when someone asks how you're doing. It's realizing you don't actually like the life you built. And instead of running, you stay. You feel. You face. You allow. Because this emptiness isn't a void. It's a clearing. A sacred pause before something new can begin. Here's what you need to know. You're not broken. You're breaking through. What hurts is not the emptiness. It's the letting go of what was never truly you. You will feel lost. That's okay. Lost is honest. Lost means you're no longer on autopilot. Lost is the first step to being found. You don't have to rush the rebuild. Let the silence teach you. Let the stillness reorient you. Let your truth come slow, without strategy, without urgency. You're not alone. Every person who has dared to live authentically has passed through this exact fire. It's not a breakdown. It's a breakthrough. It's not the end. It's the becoming. In the final part of this video, we'll explore how to begin, again not by rebuilding a better mask, but by reconnecting with the self beneath it all. We'll talk about how to rebuild identity, not from persona, but from presence. Because when you stop performing, you don't disappear. You finally appear. Part 4. Rebuilding the self. Living without the mask. You've let the mask fall. You've sat with the silence. You've mourned the roles. You've faced the emptiness. You've felt the grief of becoming unrecognizable even to yourself. And now, something else arrives. Not a new identity, not a better persona, but a kind of stillness that feels like truth. No image to defend, no title to protect, no performance to maintain, just you. This is where the real work begins. Step 1. Rebuild from presence, not performance. Your old identity was built to be seen. It was shaped by what others responded to. It was curated for acceptance. Now, you ask a different question. What remains true even when no one is watching? That's where you begin. Not with what's impressive, but with what's intimate. Not with what's productive, but with what's present. You stop asking, how do I seem, and start asking, how do I feel? You stop asking, what do they expect from me, and start asking, what does this version of me need to be whole? This is not selfish. This is sacred. Because when you live from presence, you stop being a brand and start becoming a human again. Step 2. Let wholeness replace image. Carl Jung taught that wholeness does not come from being perfect, it comes from integration. It's not about only showing your light. It's about embracing your shadow, the fears, the doubts, the contradictions, the beauty that doesn't fit the script. You begin to say, this too is me. This sadness belongs. This anger is valid. This softness is strength. And the moment you stop editing yourself for approval, something radical happens. You feel real, not flawless, not confident, but grounded, clear, whole. Step 3. Let relationships shift with you. This is the hardest part. When you stop performing, some people will miss the character you played. Some will want the old you back. Some won't understand who you're becoming. And that's okay, because every time you let go of who you're not, you create space for the people who can see who you really are. Let them find you. Let them meet the version of you who doesn't hustle for worthiness, who doesn't manage perception, who shows up real, even if that means being messy, unsure, and in process. That's the kind of connection that heals. That's the kind of intimacy that doesn't require acting. Step 4. Live your life from the inside out. There's a quiet revolution happening inside you. Not because you became someone better, but because you returned to someone truer. You no longer ask life to validate your role. You ask life to mirror your essence. You no longer use your voice to perform. You use it to connect. You no longer create from fear of being unseen. You create because your truth has nowhere else to go. You are not trying to matter. You know that you already do, and from that knowing, a new kind of identity takes root, not one that needs to impress, but one that dares to be. Closing, you are not a persona. You are a presence. So what happens when you stop performing for the world? You feel lost. Then you feel raw. Then you feel real. And eventually, you feel free. Free from needing to be perfect. Free from playing small to stay accepted. Free from sacrificing your soul for applause. This is the inner pause. It is not the end of you. It is the beginning of you without the mask. So if you're in the silence now, don't rush. Let it work on you. Let it soften you. Let it speak. Because what you'll find on the other side of the performance is not emptiness. It's you.